Okay, so this is a video on how to remove the wrap from a DW drum. This is a DW Performance 12 by 14 inch floor tom that I'm going to be putting a ginger glass glitter cover on eventually. Wrap on, actually. I ended up sending it to Precision Drum Company, but that'll pop up later in the video. But this video is more so focused on how to remove the old wrap. There's a lot of discussions in certain drum forums about you can't use a heat gun on this drum. You absolutely can use a heat gun. You have to be careful. Of course, they were saying that you could, ruin the plies of the drum, and that's a complete myth. So I want to take a minute to talk about using some kind of padding when I was doing this job alone, and because of that, the drum kept moving, obviously, so I had to clamp it down to my workstation. And when I did that with these clamps, it ended up kind of indenting the wood inside. Not a big deal, but I wanted to take a minute to talk about that. Okay, so this is the final glue seam that you hear a lot of people talk about. So I had to spend a little bit more time working on this, but it came off. It was nothing I had to do so unusual. It came off. I just had to be focused and keep that gun on it and keep going. It came off. So don't think, oh, it's not going to come off. It definitely comes off. And this completes this section of removing the wrap. And now we're going to be moving into the glue section. This section takes the longest removing the glue. I had this particular product called Citrus Strip. I think you can use any kind of varnish remover and it'll work. I applied a thin coat on, actually a quite thick coat on. I let it sit for a few hours and then scraped it off with a scraper to get it down to the wood once again, but there's still a glue residue there. So I even tried letting it sit overnight. Precision Drum Company recommends Zip Strip. Maybe that product would really do a better job. But anyway, after that, when it dried, I ended up using this steel wool to rip off the glue that was stuck. But once again, as soon as you scrape it off and it dries, you can definitely use this wool to scrape it off. Now, I only recommend doing this if you're planning on rewrapping it. If you're going to a natural maple finish, I don't recommend this because you see micro scratches that the wool puts into the wood. So I don't recommend that. But it definitely worked for removing the glue that was dried onto the wood. It worked very well. It took a little time to do it. Once again, like all these projects, you got to put a little elbow grease and you got to invest the time to do it. But when it was all said and done, it came off, and we were ready to move to the last phase, which is obviously getting the wrap on there. I used some Windex and some water lightly on the wood to kind of get any kind of even dried residue that was on the wood after I'd used the steel wool. Okay, I already purchased the wrap to put on this, but I really didn't want to do it because this wrap, the ginger glass wraps, are so thick and durable, but very difficult to put on because you've got to use the serious cement, and I just couldn't see this coming out right. So I ended up shipping it to them, and they shipped it back to me in this beautiful condition, done. So look at that. I mean, it's just such a stunning look. Then I eventually put all the hardware on, and it is done.